I got the email to share from somebody a world, and my first impulse is always to say no. That's what my head tells me, just say no. That what do I have to offer? What do I have to give? To people in Narcotics Anonymous, but like I was always taught when I got here, you don't say no. You say yes, and I said yes, and I wasn't really nervous, and I didn't think about it till right now. Now I'm fucking nervous, so I can say that. When I first got it, I called my sponsor and I asked him. I said, "Well, what am I supposed to say?" And he said, "Well, you'll know what to say." And I'm like, "Well, my sponsor always does that. He never gives me the answer I want. He always says, "You'll do fine. Just talk what you want to talk about." And even when Petra and I were just talking, we're like, "What are you going to share about?" I'm like, "I don't know." And but I'm glad I'm here, and that's a good topic. Is I talk about carrying that message, and what is my role in carrying the message. And when I got here, people carried the message to me because I always grew up. I was never success. I was never success in school. I always talk about when I went to high school, my graduating class was like 1,000 students, and we ranked them in the U.S. We rank where you are, and I was ranked like number 985. So I was not very good at school, and a lot of that was because I was high. So I did, but I was never that successful in school. I was never that successful at anything in life, and and when I started using, I thought I finally found the solution when I started using. I thought, this is going to fix my problems, I finally felt like I fit in. I finally felt like I belonged, and little did I realize where that would take me, where the disease of, of my addiction would take me, and I started, when I was a young age, I started realizing that I was using against my will. It wasn't because I wanted to use that day. It was because I had to use, whether I was physically sick or mentally couldn't deal with it or whatever. I needed to use. And I realized that line at a young age that I was an addict, but I didn't realize there was anything to do. I just thought that was my lot in life. That's what I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be an addict. And I didn't think there was anything you can do about it. I thought there was something wrong with me, inherently wrong with me, that I just couldn't live life like normal people do. I was destined to be, a screw up my whole life. And, and I used that way for a long time. I didn't realize there was any solutions. I didn't realize there was any other way. I thought there was something broken in my mind that I could fix it, And at the time when I was young, there was like L. Ron Hubbard, this guy who was talking about Dianetics, and you read this part in the book, and you fix this part of your brain, and and I tried reading that, was bored in about 30 seconds, and realized that wasn't going to fix me, and so I just thought that I was broken. I was a broken individual, that there wasn't much I could do. I wasn't successful at school. I wasn't successful at life. I wasn't successful at really anything, And I can't say that I lost anything in my active addiction because I never gained anything. I started using it at a very young age, so I never had anything. I never accumulated anything. I never held jobs for very long. And the more my addiction went on, the shorter my jobs became. I held them. My first one I held when I was young, I held for like a year and a half. And then after that, it was like 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, 2 days, and then not working at all, and I did that for a long time because in the back of my mind I thought, this is what I'm supposed to be, I don't know how to fix it, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be an addict, destined to be that way, and I didn't realize there was a solution, and then I finally. I got to the point in my life where I wanted to kill myself and I just didn't have the guts, And at the time I was living outside of New York City, and I just wanted to drive off the bridge into the river. I wanted to slam into the bridge, a car I was driving, and just end it all, and the only reason I didn't end at all was because of one person, because my mother. My mom, I knew she would be fucking devastated if I did that, and I didn't care about me. It wasn't at that point it didn't matter, but I knew that it would kill her if I did it, and so I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I just decided to go on a run in New York City for like, I don't know. I don't remember how many days. I was in the city for like 10, 12 days. Didn't call anybody and didn't do anything. I just kept using, stealing to get more, and just kept using and waking up on the sidewalk and, not realizing what the hell was going on or not really caring. And at the end of that, I realized that I couldn't do it anymore, but I didn't know what else to do. So I went home, and at the time I had a couple roommates living in New Jersey, and, I went back there. I finally showed up after like 10, 12 days, and, and they gave me a hard time because they're like, your mom's been calling here like 5 times a day, wondering where the fuck you are, and, and I can remember picking up the phone and saying, like, finally calling her, and she's like, where the fuck were you? And she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I said, I can't stop using, And I remember, I was exposed to Narcotics Anonymous at a younger age when I was court ordered into treatment when I was, I was 18 or 19. And they ordered me in. It was one of those choices where you get before a judge and it's like, all right, I can send you to jail, you can pay a large amount of money, or you can go to these classes. I was like, okay, well the classes sound a lot easier than jail, and I don't have any money. I don't want to give up any money. And so I ended up going to these outpatient, it was like a treatment center or whatever it was. But I went high every day. On the way home from work, I got high. On the way to work, I got high. And so I wasn't ready. I was not ready to stop. I thought everybody who was talking was basically full of shit. I thought they can't use like I used and stay clean. There's no way. These people are talking about living lives and being productive, and it's like, I'm too broken to be that way. I can't be that way. And so I kept using for a lot more years. And when I finally got that call when I talked to my mom that one day, and she's like, let me call somebody. So she called our family doctor, whoever, and got me into a detox in a treatment center. And, and I walked in there somewhere about September 17th, 1987, and I haven't used since then. And, I say somewhere around because I don't remember exactly what day it was. And when I got out of treatment and all that, and my sponsor's like, what's your clean date? And he's like, just pick a day somewhere around there. It was. So I picked the worst of the, I picked farther out, like the worst possible scenario. Because when I went into detox, I wasn't clean, and I wasn't clean the first couple of days there. But, but I got out, and I got out of the rehab, and it was after 30 days, and I walked out the door, and I was frightened to leave. I was terrified of leaving because I knew I was safe right there. I knew that I was staying clean. I stayed clean for 30 days. But when I walked out those doors, I wanted to go use with every fiber of my being. I wanted to go use and say, screw this, I can't do this. Again, because I was like, I'm broken, I'm fucked up, I can't do this, I need to go use. And so I didn't use, I went home, I called up the hotline, and I said, I need to know where there's a meeting, and I need help getting there because I can't get there myself, and I got a ride to the meeting, and I sat in the meeting, and I said, my name's Chuck, and I'm an addict, and that was about all I could say at the time. I said, I feel like using, and I don't know what to do, and people came up to me after the meeting, and they said, hey, you're coming with us. We're going out to the diner. You're coming with us, and I went, and I sat there, and they said, didn't say a word to anybody. I just couldn't talk. I couldn't do any, I couldn't communicate. So I went home and white knuckled it until the next meeting and did the same thing again. And the next day I did the same thing, and people told me, just keep coming back. Don't use no matter what, and keep coming back. And I did that, and I don't know what made me keep coming back. I think because I started to believe some of the people when I talked to them at the meetings that they were using like I was, and they were actually staying clean, and they were actually driving cars and going to work and doing productive things, and I caught a little bit of hope. I caught that little bit of hope there, and and so I kept showing up. And I didn't use no matter what. And next thing I know, I had 30 days, and next thing I know, I had 60 days and 90 days. And it was just amazing. My life, I could always, I could feel my life changing. I knew staying clean was the right thing to do, but still every part of me was saying, you're broken, go use. You can't do this. I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like a social retard, and sometimes I still feel like a social retard where I just, I didn't know what to do. I still didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to do anything without using, because I started using at a young age. So I learned to communicate and talk to people and do all that by using. I was high the whole time, and that's how I learned how to do everything. So I had to learn how to do everything, while being clean. And the people in these rooms taught me how to stay clean. They taught me how to live life on life's terms and how to do those things, because that message was carried to me. And, one important thing that I was also taught very, very early was giving back to Narcotics Anonymous. This gift was freely given to me, and I'm willing to give back what was so, freely given to me. So I've been involved in service since, I had 10 days clean at this meeting I was going to, and they made me the coffee maker. It's not like I really had any choice in the matter. They said, we need a coffee maker. Chuck, you're the coffee maker. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm like, for how long? They're like, for 30 days. I'm like, 30 days? I can't make a commitment for 30 days. There's no freaking way I can make a commitment for 30 days. And they said, just show up next week and make the coffee. And I did. I showed up and I made the coffee. And I think I ended up doing it for 90 days, which was like, it's like, damn, I can't believe that I could show up and do anything for 90 days. Again, because growing up, I would always start things and never finish them, I would always say, I'm going to do this and never do it. I was going to say, I'll be there then. It was never there. Or I was very late when I got there. So to actually show up for 90 days and make coffee was just like a monumental thing. It was like a spiritual awakening almost for me, because I actually did it and I actually completed it. And, and I got other commitments after that. I got, secretary positions, GSR positions, and I still went to meetings every day. For a long time, I went to meetings 7 days a week. I went every single day, and multiple times a day if I had time or if I could. Because I felt safe. I felt safe in Narcotics Anonymous, and I knew I wasn't going to use. But when you're out there for, 22 other hours, what was I supposed to do? Now, unfortunately, I'm dating myself a little because that was before cell phones when I got clean, so I couldn't call up and say, hey, I'm in a world of shit. What am I supposed to do? I had to pull over and find a payphone, You had to, pull over and hope you can find a payphone somewhere and put the money in, and then call and hope that person answered the phone, And a lot of times they didn't, and a lot of times I spent talking to answer machines, but I felt better because I did something. I felt like I reached out, and somebody wasn't there. And But people were always there when I did call. You know, my sponsor in particular. You know, he was there when I called. When I called at 2 a.m. You know, and you know, he would answer the phone and say, you know, are you okay? You know, he's like, I'd like to go back to sleep, but if you're not okay, I'll sit up and talk to you. You know, and I said, you know, and most of the times I would say, no, I don't want to bother you, I'm fine. You know, and he would say, bullshit. You know, you know, what's going on? You know, and it was really because I wanted to escape, I wanted to not feel. You know. And because I was feeling feelings for the first time, you know, and my wife's in recovery also, and she always says that, you know, feelings won't kill us, you know, emotions won't kill us, you know, but they feel like they are, you know, they feel like they're crushing, and I'm not going to be able to survive them, but we always survive our emotions, you know, and you know, and I started working the steps, you know. Another thing was, you know, they told us, work the steps. You know, my sponsor said, okay, start working step 1. This is what I want you to do, and this is what I need you to do. And he carried that message to me. You know, he brought that message of recovery to me. You know, and I started working step 1, and I had no problem with step 1 admitting that I was powerless over drugs. You know, I knew that I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything when I was using. So I knew I was powerless over drugs. There's no question in my mind. You know, I knew I was an addict. I knew I crossed that line when I was, you know, 17 or 18 years old, when I was using because I had to, not because I wanted to. But it was the unmanageable part. You know, I didn't think I was unmanageable over people, places, and things or any of that stuff. You know, it just didn't make sense. You know. You know, and I quickly realized that, you know, and I've heard somebody shared last night about having a problem with the whole God thing, and I had a real hard problem. I grew up, you know, in an Irish Catholic family in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and so I had to go to Catholic school, and I had to do all that stuff, and when I was using, I did not believe in God. There was no God as far as I was concerned. God did not exist. So when I got here and I saw the God word in the steps, I had a hard time with it. You know, I'm like, all right, I'll do all these steps except the ones with God in them. You know, I'll just whatever. I didn't want to deal with the God steps, and you know, and I had my sponsor explain it to me one time. He said it talks about a power greater than yourself restoring you to sanity. You know, he said, how are you staying clean? I said, well, I go to the meetings and the people in meetings and I hang with them. He's like, is that a power greater than yourself? And I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, okay, there you go. That's step 2, you know. And that's what I had to believe for a long time, that it was the process of Narcotics Anonymous. And sometimes that's always my default higher power. The process of Narcotics Anonymous is what saved my life. You know, and that's what keeps me clean. That's what, you know, what you know, what keeps me going today. And I, you know, I still need to be involved in service. Service is part of the process of Narcotics Anonymous to me. You know, I built some tremendous relationships in Narcotics Anonymous around service. You know what I mean? Like I said, when I got here, I felt like I was a social reject. By being involved in service, I was able to learn how to deal with situations. Difficult, you know, situations, not so difficult situations. I learned how to do that in service in Narcotics Anonymous. You know, and I still am involved in service in Narcotics Anonymous. I'm actually the RDA for my region, and I'm, you know, I have another commitment at the region. And sometimes it's hard. You know, in the area I live in, there's a lot of young people in Narcotics Anonymous. And, you know, and I want to say, it's like I haven't always looked this nerdy and middle-aged, you know what I mean? You know, I was young when I got here. I was 24 years old when I got to Narcotics Anonymous. And, you know, and I want to say, like, look, I can relate to what you guys are going through. But how do I deliver that message looking like I do, you know, to people that are 22 and 23 years old, you know? And but the message is the same. You know, the message is the same for all of us. You know, it's about don't use no matter what. Go to meetings, get a sponsor, work the steps, get involved in service. You know, and reach out. You know, the men hang out with men, the women hang out with women. You know, it's the same message. You know, and you know, and sometimes, so I still go to like 4 or 5 meetings a week in my area, and there's a lot of young people. There's a lot of young people there, and you see the struggles they go through, but you see a lot of people that get it and stay clean, and it's amazing to watch when people get this and stay clean. So I still do that. I still go to meetings, and I still share, and I still, even though I feel like, you know, these guys are just not going to hear a fucking word I say, you know, because, you know, I know when I was 24 years old, I didn't want to hear what people had to say, you know what I mean? I wanted to hear war stories and how you screwed up and how much dope you shot and who you robbed and who, you know. I wanted to hear all that stuff, but, you know, I realized that I need to talk about what I need to talk about. I need to talk about how Narcotics Anonymous saved my life, you know, and how Narcotics Anonymous gave me life today beyond my wildest dreams, you know, and how I'm in Barcelona, Spain, you know what I mean? How did I end up here? And I live in Colorado now. It's like I never had a dream growing up in Philadelphia. I want to live in Colorado, you know. It just kind of happened, you know. But when I was using, I didn't have choices. I cannot make choices when I'm using. You know, all of my choices go out the window because it's about getting high all the time, 24 hours a day. And now I can make choices. I can, you know, I'm free to live my life the way I want to live it. You know, and you know, when I walked in last night, and you know, it's just amazing what a relief it is to walk in here, because it's amazing the love that you feel in this convention, you know, in a world convention, because you got people from all over the place, and you got a lot of recovery, and it's just incredible the love I feel. And I know when this is over, I'm going to be sad. You know, I'm going to feel that sadness that when you walk out of here, and all that love seems to get sucked out of the city, you know. And or at least this particular part of the city. I know there's meetings elsewhere, and I know that love still goes on, but it's just amazing the love and energy I feel, you know. And I'm not really an emotional guy, but I was getting choked up when the speakers were sharing last night. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I cried in recovery, and I was close last night, but I just don't let the tears fall, because then I don't know, whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's something about, like, I don't want to appear vulnerable or have emotion, you know. That's one I always struggle with, you know. So I don't know. Narcotics Anonymous has given me tremendous hope, you know, and I still carry that message by going to meetings and sharing and staying involved in service. You know, I was told when I got here, you should always have a service commitment, whether it's making coffee at your home group, whether it's opening the door, putting out the literature, whether it's going to region, whether it's going to area. You know, I need to give back what was so freely given to me. You know, I need to, I just can't explain it. Like I said, I had no life before Narcotics Anonymous. I finished 15 from the bottom in my high school graduating class, you know. And most of the people who didn't graduate either died or dropped out. So I did manage to finish, but, you know, I was very close to the bottom. And I've gotten 2 degrees since then. You know, college degrees. And, I mean, that's a miracle. I couldn't have done that without this program. So, this works, and I'm just really glad I'm here. Thanks for being here. Thank you.